The more evidence, the better, I say.
I mean, this is so improbable.
That's a bold statement.
I mean, I think that's a fair point, but I didn't make that argument. He did.
Why is that true? Is that a good question? Maybe it's not.
That's true. You're not supposed to ask good questions like
sorry,
that.
sorry,
Don't
sorry.
ask difficult questions.
Bill, jump in here.
I'm Bill the Christian.
And I'm Drew the Skeptic.
You're listening to The Divide.
All right, we're here today with Youmna. Welcome, Youmna.
Thank you.
And you are Muslim, and you grew up in Damascus until about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And you're in your early 20s, is that right?
I'm 19.
Oh, cool, 19. Okay. So our question for you today is Islam the only true religion?
I don't think that's a way of describing Islam. I think it's just a complementary of all the religions, because Islam is the latest religion, or the latest of the famous ones. So I think it's just it's completing what the other religions are. Like, you can't really know some stories. You feel like you don't know the end or like what's going on. So I think Islam is just a completing of...
It's like the period at the end of the sentence.
So when you're talking about the other religions, you mean Judaism and Christianity?
Yes.
Okay. So the Abrahamic faiths, and you see it as Judaism started it, then Christianity continued it, and Islam finished it.
Yes.
So are those religions wrong?
No. There's some miscommunicate between the three religions, but they all have some they all have so many common points. So I can't really say they're wrong, but some of them I don't believe in. Yeah.
Did you, when you grew up, was it important to go to mosque and to follow the 5 sort of pillars and so on?
Yes, I did. But the thing is, in Islam, it won't count really until you have to, like in a certain age when you have to. But I started young just to get used to it. Yeah.
And when you came to America, did you join a mosque here or become a member of a mosque?
No, honestly, no, because it's different. Like different language and different way, not a different way of doing it, but different way of how they set up the time and all that. Mm-hmm. So I just did it with my family in my house. Okay,
so you're still practicing Islam, but more privately.
Yes.
Okay. Would you think there are some people who will go to hell? Is hell a real place? Heaven's a real place?
Yes, but I think people cannot put rules to who's going to heaven and who's going to hell, because God knows that, not us. And even if we're acting good things or bad things, there's still your mind and your behavior that we can't know, that God knows. So I think it's not right to say, oh, he done this and that, so he's going there. So you wouldn't even feel comfortable saying that a Christian is going to hell or a Jewish person is going to hell? You wouldn't say that Islam is a requirement for going to heaven? No, I will never say that, because at the end we're human and we're not the religion itself. So the religion might be the perfect thing, but people are not the perfect thing, so they're going to do mistakes, and God, of course, forgive us, but there's certain things that we might act like we're doing, but we're not truly behaving in it. So I think I leave that to God. He decided if we're going. I think it's based on each person, really, not a general idea of this group is going to heaven, this group is going to hell. To me, that's not right. Interesting. So what do you think about someone who's just not religious at all, who just doesn't really see religion as the answer, but tries to be a good person? Like Drew. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Not a leading question. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, because God knows you. I don't know. You might be the best person in the world doing the great things, and I might be Muslim but doing bad things. It's not. At the end, when we think about God, we think He's fair. And if we're going to think this way, it's not going to be fair. I'm just curious if you came to this sort of on your own, or if somebody influenced you to think this way? No, honestly, I listen to how people think and talk, and I read a lot. So to me, if we're believing in God, God is the one perfect thing in this world. We're not. We try to act good, but we'll never be perfect. So I think it's right to give other people their freedom to think the way they are to meet that point, because if we're going to force them to do this and that to get to God, it's not going to be truly a behaving thing. They should behave that themselves through their acts, situations, and like bad things that happen to them.
Do you think that what you're saying, that these are the ideas that are central to the Quran, that do you feel like this is what the Quran teaches?
Yeah, because there's some parts in the Quran when it says we don't have the right to decide if people are good or bad. We leave that to God. We have to be nice to them. We don't have to believe the way they do, and they don't have to believe the way we do, because at the end we don't really know how you behave, or you believe. That's, even if you tell us, we still can't really see it, but God can feel it. So that's better if we leave it to Him, not to us, because people are they judge a lot, and sometimes they judge based on their behaviors, not based on like what you're trying to say or think.
Would you say it's common among Muslims you grew up with in Damascus, the people who say took Islam very seriously, to hold these ideas? Or is it more common to think, Christians are going to hell, or atheists are going to hell?
Yeah, well, that's more of like, some people think even if you think about God existence, that's so much better of thinking He's not there at all. But the thing is, Islam, like the Quran, doesn't say that Muslims are going to heaven or like Christians are going, like it's not there. But what it's saying is, if you talk badly about God, or if you say things that God said it when He didn't say it, like you're just saying things that He said when He didn't say it, that's the bad part about it. Like if I say, well, God said to wear this and this, or talk like this, or don't do this, and when it's not really there, I'm just trying to act like God, and that's not something we should do as people.
So ascribing to Him ideas He hasn't Himself expressed, I guess, would be a grave sin.
Yeah, oh yeah, because you can, like, if you're saying something...
But a very common one, I guess, is
yeah,
what you're
a
saying.
lot of
like,
people
it seems like
do that.
Christians do that, a lot. They kind of, assume things or interpret things in their own way.
Yeah,
it sounds like you're saying Muslims do too.
I can give you an example. For example, like, wearing the hijab is a common thing for girls in Islam. But the thing that you have to cover your face, your hand, your whole body, you won't even see, like the only thing you can see is the eyes. Those things are not there. And there is some parts in the Quran what tells you exactly how to wear it. So to me, that's just like you're trying to be extra about what God said. Like, He knows better than us, because at the end He's the one who's telling us what to do. So like, I don't know what sometimes they try to do when they ask things like this. I think some people use it just to benefit themselves.
I'm not sure I completely follow that. So you said there are certain instructions in the Quran about how to dress.
Yeah.
But it doesn't involve a hijab at all?
It does, but not the way people say it. Like,
well, I mean, so you don't think that's... I noticed that you're not in a hijab right now. Is that only for certain occasions? Or I'm just clueless about this.
We have to wear it. The thing is, it starts at a certain age first. And then after that, you don't have to cover your face, your hands, and all this. Like, you really have... Like, these are fine to... your face are fine to show. Like, at the end, people need to see who's behind this cover thing. It's more important of how you dress yourself and your makeup and, like, the perfume you wear. That's more important of, like, covering yourself. Because at the end, the point of hijab is not to get attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like you're sort of symbolically honoring the spirit of the hijab by being modest in the way you appear. Is that the idea?
Yeah, like the main point of hijab is to not get attention, or like attention that might hurt you, especially in old time. Now life changed, and religion are still there, but we can't just be like 100% perfect and follow it exactly the way it is. So we do things sometimes.
So you interpret and you say, okay, well, the meaning of this, the reason these instructions are in the Quran is, for modesty purposes, for not drawing bad kinds of attention to yourself.
Yeah.
And so you sort of dress in that way without actually wearing a hijab.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't to me, that's just my opinion. I know it's there and we have to wear the hijab, but to me, there's more things a girl might do that get attention even if she's wearing it. So to me, if you know what you're doing and you stay respectful all the time and try to be you, then you're good.
So
it sounds
do you ever wear hijab?
No.
So it sounds like it's really, your interpretation is that God cares about what's in your heart and what your motives are and how you act, not
because
necessarily.
Honestly, the appearance might affect that people when you wear it, people will immediately know that you're Muslim, but you might do things that are not the way you should do it. Then that will doesn't make sense to people. You might wear it and show that the appearance show that you're Muslim, but you act completely different that you are. So to me, appearance, is important, but at the end, what you do is the most important thing.
Let me ask you about the idea of salvation, or forgiveness, or heaven, or however you want to describe it, because it's a little different from the way I would understand the Christian view of salvation. Does God, is your idea that He'll sort of forgive any sin you do?
No. There's certain, if I know that I'm doing a mistake and I keep doing it, and I think, I'll talk to God later, or I try to make Him forgive me later, then to me that's just well, what are you doing? You're doing something wrong and you still think that God will forgive you. To me, the only mistakes that God will forgive us for if we don't know that that's something wrong we're doing, or if we did it and then later we really felt that, oh my gosh, we did something really bad, we need to step up and try to fix it. To me, that's the kind of mistakes God will forgive us for, but not for anything, not for things that we know we're doing it wrong, but we just keep going.
All right, so for Christians, of course, the way we view, or the way the Bible describes Jesus, the New Testament describes Jesus, is that a human being can't fix the problems they've created. They've spilled milk, as we say in English, and you can't put it all back into the cup. So that Christ's death is what covers the payment for all the sin. So for Islam, is there something that sort of covers or atones, or is a sort of payment that honors sort of the justice, you might say, of wrongdoing?
No, the thing is, we do believe in Jesus, but we don't believe it that way. We believe that He's a prophet, just like Muhammad, just like Abraham and all the other prophets. He was a link to tell us what God wants us to know, but that's about it. I think if you, the way describing about your sin, that's God can feel and know what you're thinking. So to us Muslim people, I don't think we need links, someone to link us between God and us. I think he's already able to see what we're doing and know exactly how we're feeling. So to me, there's we do believe in Jesus, but we believe Him as a prophet, just like Muhammad. We don't believe that Muhammad is a link between us and God. He just was a way to send what God wants us to know. Yeah.
So forgiveness, I guess, from your perspective in Islam, is that you sort of identify or empathize with somebody having done something wrong, and you feel that they've said they're sorry, and meaning God sees it this way. God sees them as being sorry for what they've done.
Yeah.
And so you forgive them the way, I might forgive someone who's cut me off in traffic and then gives me a wave like they're sorry or something. Whereas for Christianity, the Christ's death is what's important, is not just that because He's understood to be God and man, combined. What's important about that is the idea of justice, that people have done things wrong, and God is holy, and so He can't just sort of sweep it under the rug, but He has to show some accounting for righteousness' sake. That if, say, somebody murdered somebody, the person they murdered, their life had value, and so Christ's death shows that value. It's what we call justice.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I've heard that a lot, but Muslim people don't think, or we don't think that honestly Jesus died for real. Like we think that God took him alive to heaven, and he's gonna come back when the life is gonna end and stuff like that to help people out. But we don't believe that he died. We don't believe in the.
And the justice part of it is just not an important part of the salvation story.
Well, if I can,
right?
I'm just going to try to interpret, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. But what I hear her saying about justice is that, the way I would interpret it is God sees what's really in your heart, is for lack of a better way to explain it. And so if you really feel sorry for what you've done, he sees that. And if you don't, he sees that too.
Oh, yeah.
And that is really the difference between whether or not you're forgiven. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, because for example, let's say you don't believe in God. Even if you don't believe in God, God still sees what you're doing and how you feel. Even if you don't believe that, but he's there. And he will see what you're doing, how you feel. If you're really if you're acting the way you do just because you really want to do like this, I think God knows that and feel that and see it, even if you don't believe that there is even God in the world. So when it comes to the point where we all die, and there's a point when God will talk to us and decide who are going to heaven and hell, that person who didn't believe in God, but God still see what you're doing and whatnot. So the fair part of it is that He won't just put you to hell because you didn't believe in him. He will see what you've done on earth, because not everyone believe in God is a good person.
So I think a lot of people would agree with that, and even maybe a lot of people who are not particularly religious would say, well, I try to be a good person. If I do something bad, I try to make it right. I try to, pay somebody back or make amends or help them out or do something to make up for what I did. And I find that interesting. So what do you think the point of religion is? Because a lot of people would say, well, you can be a good person without...
The point of religion is really to lead you, to tell you what to do. It's just like a school. We need teacher, we need counseling, we need books to see what we're going. Because what we learn in book, we'll learn in life later. But
you don't think people know that intuitively, like murder's wrong? Or, you think they need religion to tell them that?
No, religion is not meant to tell you what not to do. It's meant to tell you what to do.
What to do?
Yeah.
Such as?
It won't tell you don't kill. It will you love people. That's the point of the religion. It's not to tell you what not to do, it's to tell you what to do. And all religion tell you to do good things. I don't think there's any religion in the world, no matter how we believe different, it will tell you do this because it's bad.
So love people, or feed the hungry, or that sort of thing. But a lot of people do that without religion, so I don't understand.
Yeah, it's just... So the point is we do something wrong, and that's based on people, because they decide not to do the good things. That's the way it is. Religion helps you to know what's next, to know, because sometimes people to know, oh, what's the point of life? What's next? We lived this entire life. We worked hard. We studied. We have kids. We have family. And then what? We die. And after this, what? That's what religion show you. Yeah, you did something good in life, but you're not just gonna die here and that's it. Your story is gone. And yeah, you're gonna live another life again in heaven. But in heaven, you won't have to deal with rules. But in life, religion is rules. Yeah, and I know people won't like rules, but rules are important sometimes in life, because you need to know what you're doing and how you do it. That's easier on you. Some people take religion as oh my gosh, I don't want to deal with all that. That's just too much. But at the end, it could help you if you truly take it serious, and also don't take it serious to the point if you don't this, you're a bad person, because you can't be perfect every single day. There are some days when you're gonna lose it, some days when you be just right. So
I think one of the things that she's sort of bringing out because of her, my reaction to it is, first of all, that from what little I know of having read some of the Quran and having talked to some imams and so on, and some other Muslims, is that they seem to be a little less forgiving, or that's not the right word. That's definitely not the right word. They seem to have a little more narrower, stricter view, in the sense of that there's people who who that it really does matter that they're Muslim and that that's the truth they believe, than what I'm hearing from you. But she sort of reminds me, Drew, of how I will sometimes hear Christians talk about Christianity, which is kind of what we call a big tent view. That it's sort of like there's hardly anybody that will in the end up in hell. And I'm not saying, I don't know that you're saying that, but that's what it sort of sounds like to me. And I know as a Christian, I often feel like, well, gee, that's so obviously different from things Jesus said. But
that's kind of how I understand what you're saying too. Mm-hmm. I think is that the Quran and really other religions even are guidebooks to show you, like, to give you purpose. I think you said, like you want to be thinking about, the next life. Like, this isn't all just for nothing, but we're going to hopefully to heaven someday, but then also as a guidebook of how to live, sort of to help us. Not necessarily that you have to have that, but because you said, you can be a good person without it. But you can look to that as sort of something to give you an idea of what you should be doing, not necessarily what you shouldn't be doing. How would you know? A question I have for you is a little bit from a different angle, but how would you know the opinions you have are the true ones? Like, how do you know this is the right way to look at it?
That's exactly how I say it, because people look at things in so many different ways, and you can't just say, oh, this is the right way to see things. At the end, I came from different society, came from different religion, different family. That's all affect the way I feel and believe. So I can, like, even if you take me and take someone from a different family in Syria, or lived in a different area, she's gonna think the different way, because we all, even sisters, will think the different way. There's no one way to think, oh, if you think this way, you're truly going to heaven. To me, that's just like unbelievable, because people are different.
But you sound pretty confident about your opinions, the ones you've offered.
Yeah, because to me, I'll tell you why. Because when I try to talk to God, I feel like He listens to me, and honestly, I ask Him a lot of things, and He does it to me. So I feel like the one thing I agree on is, God is here, but we don't. Sometimes we do the right things, sometimes we don't. But to me, what's important is that God is here, and we have to respect Him and respect His existence.
But what I mean is, you offered an opinion about Jesus. I couldn't quite tell if that was your own strong opinion, strong conviction. You're confident that you're right about Jesus, or that's just the way Muslims tend to look at Jesus, but you're not sure.
Muslims look at Jesus the way I said it, that He's just a prophet, but I do also believe that it's true, because to me, honestly, I feel like, why would God send someone to link us between Him when the either way will be just like us and Him? That's just my feeling towards it, but at the end, we can't really know until we meet God. So it's sort of a common sense. Like, to you, it's sort of, it doesn't make sense to you. Have you read the Gospels at all? I'm curious. No. Okay. But I was like, people tell me about it, but I also never sit down and read it. Yeah. I think it's pretty common actually for people just to kind of have an opinion, a hunch, a feeling about something. Do you think it's also important to, if it may not be important to you to read the Gospels at some point, but if someone were to say confidently this is what they think, do you think would it be a good idea for them to actually read the Gospels at some point and look at them in a more critical way? It's good to see how people look at things differently and to see why they think that way. Because some people take it, honestly, that's in any religion, some people take it easy, like, just like, oh, this is an easy way of doing things. Other people truly believe in it. So it's good to know what side you're at. And then the other thing, I don't think there is a 100% truth. You won't find it on earth. I think we only find it when we meet God. Mm-hmm. But you think that we can know some truths, like historical things happened. Oh yeah. So like, events in the life of Muhammad. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like historically it's important to you that those things really happened? Do you feel like that's important within your sort of Muslim worldview, that we can demonstrate that historically? That's important, because like what happens with all the prophet things are impossible to happen with normal people, and prophets are normal people. So that show the power of God and show that God is really able to do whatever, even unbelievable things. So to me, that's a proof that God brought us to life, and He can just like for example, a normal person can kill someone else and die, but God can kill you and then not kill you, but like you can die and go back to life and then die. Yeah, that's only in God's power. So God has a power that people won't be able to have, but at the same time, if God wants to give you this power, He can.
Do you read the Quran every week?
I try to. Yeah. It depends on my free time, but some days I read a lot, some days I just eat a little. Yeah.
And you feel like it's giving you wisdom and reminding you of rules and things like this?
It really gave me that feel of peace. Or like the Quran gave me the feel that life is still good. Like sometimes to get to the point where you see what's going on around you and be like, why we're here? Like why? Because if you look 100 years ago, it wasn't as bad as now. And
would you also read like what we call the Old Testament or the Hebrew scriptures? Do you read some of that too? Because you mentioned that the Quran is sort of the completion of the Abrahamic
No,
religion.
honestly I don't, but I do read historical books about religion, but I don't read the actual the actual holy books from other religion, and I never, honestly. Like, I'm not just gonna lie, I never read any, but I heard about them and I heard what people think. And
You've learned the basics of other,
yeah, people tell me the basics, but like honestly, I never just sat down and I feel like even if I do, I won't really understand. I need someone who actually believes in it. It'll be easier on me.
Okay.
Well, we're getting pretty close to time, and I want to give us plenty of time to wrap up and maybe ask some more questions. But I have to be honest, I like the common sense approach. You know, I feel like if you are going to believe, it sort of makes more sense to me to have kind of a notion of, well, let's say I grant that there's a God, and this is, you know, and He cares about what we do. It does seem to make sense the way that she's described it. That if you mean well, and you know you try to be a good person, and you try to, you know, make recompense for bad things that you do, that sort of makes sense to me. You know, it's not exactly in line with sort of how I see things, because I don't see that that the freedom of the will is really the same way that you guys would see it. So we don't have to get into that, but I do think that's interesting, and I'm curious.
Yeah, the big tent. I think you probably aren't surprised that I would divide on this issue a little bit because of common sense, I would say, because to me people do things when we do things that are wrong. I don't really think of us as being able to, as a general rule, repair them. At least a lot of the things we do wrong are clearly unrepairable.
But
so,
I would think that what you were saying was that it was less about being able to fix what you did and more about like how you feel about it, like what's in your heart.
Yeah, and for me as a Christian, it's not that isn't incorporated into my view. Of course, God sees the inside of a person, and that's far more important than what I see. That's elementary within Christianity. It's the fact that we know enough, the way Jesus taught and as the Bible describes God, that God sees that people really do things that are evil and wrong, and that those people, like the Apostle Paul, Saul of Tarsus, you know, that he participated in an execution of an early Christian. And so it's not like you can fix that. And so there must be of necessity something that is out there to satisfy justice. It's not that God can just say, you know, Paul, you feel bad about that, and so I'm going to forgive you, and you can come spend eternity with me. It's more like Paul would say, you know, I can never fix that. I've broken this irreparably, and the value of this life was so great. The only thing that could possibly equate to that is another life, the life of God Himself as a human. And so, in other words, for me, that is the common sense reason I think would not be big tent in that sense.
So John Piper once gave a sermon called did Jesus die for us or for God? And the upshot of that was that God wants to forgive, but he can't because it's not just. So that's why Jesus had to die, to bring justice to the equation. And so I think you would kind of agree with that equation, right? That
I wouldn't agree at all with that description, assuming that's what he actually said. But meaning, I don't think of him as sort of in conflict with himself, fighting one side of himself against another.
I don't think that's what I meant. I mean, I meant that the equation is, God cannot justly forgive
that is correct.
Sin without a propitiation or whatever you want to, without a sacrifice. And Jesus was that sacrifice.
Yeah. And I see that as, to me, that's common sense.
To me, that doesn't make, I understand it because I grew up with those ideas, but I also have come to believe that doesn't make a lot of sense because, it's sort of this C.S. Lewis-y, like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe type idea that there can be some kind of sacrifice that, that you sacrifice a perfect being and then that covers all the sins of the world.
Because it's a statement of value, like if you...
I understand the equation, but in a common sense way, that just doesn't resonate anymore.
So we divide on what is erroneously called common sense. I think that's ultimately then what that comes to. By the way, I will say this, as we close it up, that we certainly apply it to society. Like you certainly think justice is important in society. I assume, like in our normal, practical, everyday life, we think there should be justice. It's important. If there's not justice, we would think it's a lawless, anarchical society is not a better one. So that seems to be in my favor.
I think I would have a nuanced take on that. Like obviously, I believe that we can't let murderers just go around free just because they say they feel bad. But I also don't believe in the guilt is the wrong word because they are guilty, but I don't believe in the revenge aspect of punishment, or even the punishment aspect. I believe that we should lock murderers up so that they don't keep harming people, but I also believe that they can have a change of heart or not, and I think that there's a lot of I don't know that we want to get into this. We're trying to wrap up.
Yeah.
But I guess I would.
Well, certainly
have a different
revenge is not the motive God has. It's certainly careful in Scripture not to describe it. But let's close it up and just agree we divide on this issue of between us a little bit of common sense. You favor Youmna's view. You think it's a little more commonsensical, I think.
Well, of course, I would.
If there were a God.
Right.
This idea is more appealing to you than the traditional Christian sort of orthodoxy. Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so to me, sacrifice is a very important thing because when people ask me what love means, I say sacrifice. People are not able to sacrifice easy. That's one thing. The second thing is when people do mistakes like murder and stuff and they truly feel good, feel that they did something wrong and they truly believe that, they got to the point where I wish I didn't do this, truly. They might lose their life on earth, like the normal life on earth, but they gain it with God because they feel that bad emotions. So God, no matter what people do, God can help you, after life.
Right.
He will give it to you. He will give you what you miss on earth if you feel that God is the one way to get out of what you did. And then at the end, I'll just say religion is important, and all religions are just completing each other, and we have to help each other out with beliefs because we can make life so much better. At the end, religion made to do good things, not bad things.
Interesting. So yeah, I would have some disagreements at points, but I do think that's a more easy to swallow way of looking at a God, a creator, because it's not dependent on what we believe as much as it's dependent on what we do and how we and our motives and our heart. Because I'm continuing to use that Christian term because I can't find a better one. But yeah, what is our intention? And again, I would believe other things about free will and how much we can really control. But to the extent that to the extent that there is a judge that's judging what we've done in life, I would like to think that there would be sort of a reward for trying your best and for feeling like, yes, maybe you've done things that are wrong, but if you really regret those and feel like
there's the one thing you can describe is there's always a step you can take to get to God. No matter how bad you do, if you decide to take it, you can.
Well, we obviously, all of us, divide in some ways, and in some ways agree on a few things, that we all do things wrong at times, knowingly so. But Youmna, thank you so much for being with us, talking with us.
Thank you, yes. It's been great.
I am Bill the Christian.
And I'm Drew the Skeptic. Thanks for listening.
The Divide is produced by Alan and Ben Hawbrooks and edited by John Workman. Dalton Reed handles IT. Join us for further discussion on this topic at our subreddit, TheDividebyiPUB. To learn more about other episodes and who we are, check out ipub.org/thedivide. See you next time on The Divide.